Hello and welcome to the Can't Be Podcast post-match reaction. I'm your host, Dan Rolinson. I'm joined here this evening by Mat Kendrick, though for the people watching this or listening to this, it will be this morning for you. We are recording this at 11:30 on the Tuesday evening of the Newcastle defeat. But Matt, we had a couple of dodgy Wi-Fi moments, so we thought we wouldn't risk going live and we'll do it as a pre-record. And hopefully we can leave it pretty much unedited, but if I do need to intervene with a dodgy connection, I will cut bits out. Before we get into it, how are you this evening? Upset, sad, proud of what came before? How do you feel?
It's a new feeling, isn't it? I forgot what it was like to go on and lose in the league at Villa Park. But if you're going to do it, you might as well do it in spectacular fashion. We're just awful, weren't we? It was just a terrible evening. I think, obviously Newcastle came with, was it the second worst away record in the league or something? Only won away once, and you see them leaving, celebrating as if they've just clinched a place at Wembley or something. Listen, I'm not the celebrating police, so I don't want to sound too bitter about it. It's obviously a big result for them, and to beat us 8-2 on aggregate. But I don't think, and I'm not trying to take anything away from their performance, but I don't think that we made them work hard enough to beat us like that. And it wasn't until the introduction of Leon Bailey, and I'm getting ahead of myself, it wasn't until Bailey came onto the pitch that we actually looked like we can get the intensity to turn and get behind them and actually make things happen. So I just think it was so disappointing given what's gone before. And I think this is the little bit of, I'm not going to be completely doom and gloom. And if you probably look at the Aston Villa hashtag on AVFC hashtag on social media at the moment, I can imagine this is the beginning of the end, and the cracks have turned into chasms and all this kind of thing. And I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. And somebody's tweeted me when Dad was driving me home, and I was looking at my phone saying how this could become a mediocre season. I think, well, hang on a minute. I think there's a difference between anticlimax and mediocre. If we finish outside the top four from the position that we put ourselves in after the first half of the season, I think anything less than top four is an anticlimax. I think anything top six can't be described as mediocre, especially while we're still competing on another couple of fronts. So I get it, because the performance levels haven't been what we've been used to. The result at Villa Park certainly hasn't been what we're used to. The concern I've got is the concern that I've voiced all along, that I think we've got a top four best 11. I'm not necessarily convinced we've got a top four squad. So we're asking a lot of our team, our squad and our fringe players to produce that every week. But I think Saturday becomes massive now. I think we've got to go there on the front foot and win that game just to regain some of that momentum.
Well, I say must win. I don't really like the phrase "must win" when there's half a season pretty much left. If we don't beat Sheffield United, it doesn't mean the season is over. But to kind of arrest this little slump in form, I guess, to finally get a win for the first time in what feels like quite a while now. Obviously drew to Sheffield United, drew to Everton, drew to United, Man United, then 0-0 in the FA Cup with a replay. Obviously lost tonight. It feels like we just need a win. We need a win of any kind, whether it's a good performance or not, really.
I don't want to break it to you, but we actually lost to Man United. We didn't draw.
Oh, of course, exactly. Yeah, even worse. It's late.
As if it couldn't get any worse. I've just kind of broke you that bad news. But,
you mentioned the cracks turning into chasms. It's not quite the stage of photoshopping the Aston Villa badge in 2 years, is it? The classic journalism trope of the badge with a big crack in the middle.
I'm not sure you can be in crisis, can you, when you're still in the top four, even if you're just clinging to it?
You're right about the AVFC hashtag. I've seen some, in my opinion, silly things on Twitter on the car journey back this evening. Like I said, we always say about this post-match show that maybe sometimes we will change how we feel within 24 hours. Maybe some people will feel differently for tonight when I'm reading these tweets than they will when they listen to this episode tomorrow. But I've seen some things that I just can't get on board with. I can't agree with that. Certain players aren't up to standard, or the performances haven't been great, which they haven't, but it's almost like a disaster of the last 2 months. I saw someone say in the last 2 months we beat Man City and Arsenal. It's a month, maybe more so, and even disaster I won't go as far to say, but it hasn't been the standards that we expect. And I understand that that's frustrating and disappointing, but I don't think, anyway, we're 5 minutes into this, I don't think you'll hear any sensationalism, over the top, end of the world stuff from either you or I tonight. Anyway, we're fourth in the league still. Like, this isn't. Oh, now the season is over. We've lost to Newcastle. They've leapfrogged us into the top six, and that's the end of it for us. There's still a hell of a lot of football to be played in the league. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still in the Europa Conference League. Yes, tonight was crap. That was one of our worst performances under Unai Emery. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, do you, after one bad result? And I said, I don't know when it would have been, probably after Sheffield United, possibly when the winning streak came to an end, that we will lose at Villa Park at some point, everybody. Like that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. But I would like to think that there is some kind of period of acknowledgement, or, like I said to you at the start, a sense of pride maybe, that we used to go to Villa Park at one stage, losing most weeks, to have gone there for pretty much the entirety of 2023 and into early 2024 without losing there. The last time we lost was February 2023. Obviously, most of those wins as well, of course, up until Sheffield United and obviously tonight. You've got to acknowledge that and say that's a bloody good achievement. Yes, tonight's disappointing and frustrating and was a terrible performance, but come on, like I get that people are bored of this kind of narrative of, well, look where we were 5 years ago. We were mid-table in the Championship. I get that. That's probably an old thing to trot out now, but look where we were a year ago or so, struggling to find any form at home. To have put the Villa Park kind of hoodoo to bed, that we are now a good home team, or a brilliant home team. One kind of, what's another cliche? One kind of fly in the ointment with Sheffield United and Newcastle United. It's not the end of the world, is it?
No, and I think you can be disappointed without being kind of fatalistic about it.
Of course.
I think Aston Villa, as Champions League contenders, it was always going to be, and I'm not giving up on it, but it was always going to be a big ask. We are the pretenders rather than the contenders. So to actually go back and keep justifying that, I think we said, I can't remember what game it was after, probably the heady heights of Manchester City and Arsenal in the week, that we thought that even then replicating the season or replicating the first half of the season was going to be a big ask. But we thought that we got enough in the bag that even if we fell slightly short of the first half of the season, in the second half of the season, we still might get over the line. And I think that still can be the case.
Yeah. 16 games to go in the league. Still a lot of points available. Well, Villa could win 10 of 16 in theory, more obviously in theory. But there's a reasonable target to say if we win 10 of 16, that's another 30 points onto Villa's current total of 43. If Villa were ending the season on 70 something, that would give them every chance of finishing in the top 5.
Yeah, and I think probably less looking at Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City that as much as we have been in previous weeks. Although, is this table up to date? We're still on the same points as Man City.
Yeah, still 43 points. Spurs obviously play today. For people listening, they have Brentford at their home stadium. So I would expect Spurs to win tonight and go level with us and Man City on 43, Arsenal on 46 and Liverpool on 48. I think Liverpool play on Wednesday evening as well. Obviously the gap to West Ham is still there. The gap to Newcastle United is obviously 3 points less. Brighton took a battering at Luton, so that we've not lost anything there. Man United obviously 32 points, and we play them in a couple of weeks. So all is not lost for me is the message. 16 games and 30, 40 odd points, whatever it is. It's still a long, long way to go. And Villa are touching 70 odd points, that they give them every chance of finishing in the top 5. And we all think that will be good enough for Champions League. But, we're looking ahead at title races in Liverpool and Arsenal. And I know Arsenal have gained points on us. It's a straight shootout with Spurs for me, 4th. And I think the other team will probably finish 5th. And whether that is good enough for Champions League, we will find out at the end of the season.
Yeah, 16 games is 48 points, Dan. Don't you know your troubles? Have you not been watching Luke Littler?
I'm rubbish with math.
It's frustrating, and I think, I don't know. Listen, you could look at this either way. You could look at it that we're asking the same players to go to the well every single week to a point. But I actually wonder if it's the reverse, that this gap between fixtures has not necessarily helped, because we've had this way of recovering quickly under Emery and putting disappointments behind us and getting it out of our system and you know, pretty much kind of knocking out the next opponent in front of us. And it's been a real stop-start month. It was bizarre that, you know, at the 30th of January, I'm saying Happy New Year to my neighbours who sit next to me at Villa Park because it's been so long. But it was just that feeling of, I'm just not you. I mean, you can almost understand how fan bases become entitled so quickly because you become so spoiled and so conditioned to winning football matches when you're a bit good that anything that deviates from that narrative, you all of a sudden you're like, this is appalling. Give me my money back. This is terrible.
Well, there were some people who will want their money back given some of the ticket prices I saw going around this evening. It was like £63 or something, which is a topic for another day. But that's frankly ridiculous. I understand it, of course. Like, I don't want to come across that we're not bothered by losing. Of course, we want Villa to win every game possible. That was bad tonight. As much as I think I said to somebody on the way back that Newcastle probably had their two best performances of the season against us, their best home performance and best away performance, which, I mean, the away one's not difficult considering they've only won one at home, won one on the road before tonight. That just seemed to turn it on and did a job on us that we did to them in the reverse fixture last year. And in the Villa Park fixture last year when we beat them 3-0, we were comfortably the better team and a really entertaining game, and we really put them to the sword. I don't really think Newcastle did that to us tonight. I don't think they were outstanding footballers and were, you know, really, really good. I think we were really bad in some instances as well and kind of let them have an easy ride of it, scoring a couple of goals from set pieces. Fabian Schär being on hat-trick, like, that's not the way a game should go, really. And Martinez makes a couple of good saves that keep us in it as well. And we've gone from like Villa creating a lot of chances and not really giving many away to not really creating anything and giving a lot of chances away, like not specifically to tonight. But Martinez has made a few big saves in the last few games in a row now. Kept us in it at Chelsea in the first half, made a couple of good saves against Everton. That Calvert-Lewin one, the finish wasn't great, but it's still a good save. So we've kind of stumbled a little bit.
I think Eddie Howe's done good. I think they've done a good job. I don't think they were brilliant, but I think they were really effective tonight. I think they've done a good
effective
job.
Is a better word. Yeah,
you look at the you know, I'm not a massive fan of Anthony Gordon, but he worked so hard tonight, and their press was actually one of the most effective presses. I think we struggled because they pressed our back line so high up from goal kicks and stuff that we couldn't really work. You know, Martinez having to go long more than he usually would, and then you're going long, and it's Dan Burn up against Diaby, and that's there's only one winner there, and we just weren't getting.
That was weird.
We weren't getting Kamara and Louise on the ball enough. And then the key thing for me, and I'm not sure it's kind of takes a master tactician to do it, but when we got Bailey on and we're starting to make some inroads down there, and Dan Burn was being exposed by Leon Bailey, he's made the change and brought Livramento on. And listen, Bailey was still what I thought our best source of getting any joy down there, but he kind of bottled us up down there as well. And I just think it was, I'm not saying Eddie Howe's a kind of, like I say, a master tactician, but he's got the better of Emery twice. I actually thought before the two goals, I don't think we were at our free flowing best, but I thought we looked more likely at that stage. We just seemed to be overplaying and looking for the kind of perfect cutback and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But having conceded that first goal, to concede the second goal was, like I say, two set pieces. And if I'm being honest, I've probably got my McLaren blue specs on, because there was lots of times, whether it was Isak or whether it was Gordon, where we looked like being exposed by that ball over the top between our two centre halves as well. I think Martinez has made a good save, hasn't he? And Longley's got a good tackle in while it's still 0-0. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you think of all the emotion and imagine what social media was like back in August after that first day, and Emery soon patched that up and got us onto a fantastic run. So I think this is the biggest test of him this season, because you can almost feel a little bit of confidence has gone. They do seem, some of the players, some of their own individual performance levels have gone. maybe there's a bit of fatigue. So I think he's got a real kind of challenge on his hands to reawaken it quickly, to give us a chance to maintain what we started.
Yeah, I think like decision making and some of the things that we were doing on the pitch confused me a little bit. That confusion is probably the right word. In fact, certainly for the first half, I was kind of like almost sitting back and looking around, going, "What are we doing here? Like, what are we actually trying to do?" Like, you find ourselves in space and then it's backwards, or not trying to beat a man and just looking a little bit indecisive, maybe. Or when we do kind of commit to a decision, you think, well, that's the wrong one. You should have squared it, or you should have played him in, or whatever it is specifically.
I don't think we move the ball quickly enough sometimes.
No,
I can understand.
we don't do it because that's the way we play, and it's about being patient and probing and looking for the right opportunity.
You probe. If you probe patiently all the time, you don't vary the tempo at all. Especially when you've given the opposition a 2-0 lead, they don't need to be. You're not moving them around. They can sit in, and they've got pace on the break. I think it's silly little things which, if we'd have won the game, we probably wouldn't have even noticed it. So you can start picking holes a little bit. But I don't think I saw Matty Cash, and I'm not saying we dig out the Austin McPhee kind of Aston Villa beach towel to dry his hands on and he bombs it into the box, although it did work against Newcastle when Danny Ings scored. But I don't think I saw him throw the ball forward.
Now, there was one he took a really quick throw in, and I wasn't sure who it was. I assumed it was Cash in the first half on the far side. I was like, oh, that was actually a quick bit of thinking. It was like the first time I thought we've made a good decision. There's just a few too many instances where it's just like,
it's always back to concert.
The lack of urgency isn't there.
Put it into the feet of the winger. If there's space, he'll give it back to you, and then at least you've got the ball facing the play. But like I said, I think we're probably splitting hairs because there's been times.
Of course, yeah.
It's probably that throw in is probably that routine all the time when we get it back to Ezri Konsa and we move it across the back line, and then we're trying to merge down the other flank. So I'm probably being hypercritical, but I think it stings a little bit more, that slow, patient build-up. And I know we've been educated, and I know it generally works more often than not. But when you're chasing a game, you think...
Yeah, when you're losing, it doesn't feel good.
What are we going to do differently to raise the tempo? And, obviously, the ball that Bailey's whipped across for the Watkins goal, that's doing something quickly before the opposition is set. And then you're not going to always have that luxury, but... the ball that they whipped in for their third goal, our deliveries tonight is so many times, and whether it was Matty Cash, I think Ezri Konsa has been guilty of it a couple of times, McGinn, Douglas Luiz, you're just a little chipped ball with no pace against a fairly...
The biggest defence in the league.
imposing back line. You're thinking, well, what are you thinking might happen there?
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's those things that frustrate me.
Even if you win that ball, you're going to have to generate your own momentum to get any kind of power on it, to get it near the goal.
There was a couple of times either Watkins, I think Matty Cash as well, found himself in space to kind of break the line in behind, and you're looking at a diagonal ball across the pitch to get the ball into that area of space, and it's like, well, if we go long here, they'll deal with it, and it's back to square one. It seems to go long from most goal kicks as well. Something we don't often do. And again, you're thinking this is one of the tallest defences in the league. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it feels like Newcastle won pretty much every header that went their way. So there's those moments where I do wonder, they're coached to the nth degree, like they're told exactly what to do. There's a game plan. Unai Emery, we're very gushing about how intelligent he is and how he sets us up. It's kind of like, well, why are we doing that? Why are we just floating balls into the box against 6'6" Dan Burn, against 5 foot whatever John McGinn, who is strong with his body and did a job on Dan Burn last season, but continuing to do the same thing and the same thing is very frustrating. And when you're behind, like you say, that kind of sense of urgency is not there. That lack of almost like playing on instinct is not there because we're so kind of routined and patient. We need that moment of magic from someone like Bailey to come on and change the game and just do something differently. That's probably one of the first crosses along the floor, and it's resulted in a goal. We obviously score a second not long after, and it's offside, I think. I've not seen it back, so I don't know how close that was or whatever. But almost in a split second, you're looking at it going, "Oh, we've changed something. We've done something different. We're playing off instinct here rather than going through the motions." And all of a sudden, we look dangerous. And I've thought we might change things at half time, not 70 minutes in or whenever the changes came.
Yeah, and it's such intricate attention to detail to move the ball into areas where you can potentially lay a glove on your opponents. That having done that, having kept the ball and moved it in such a methodical way, it almost seems like a dereliction of duty to not look after that final ball a little bit more. But like I said, I think we I don't want to. I know it sounds silly, and it's not that kind of Emery and this kind of wonderful team that he's assembled are beyond criticism. I don't know.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. That's what I kind of wanted to end with. I said at the start, I didn't want this to be over the top sensationalism or whatever, or us being accused of putting the foot in or whatever phrase you want to use to throw our way after this. Obviously, we're not doing this live, so we've got no live feedback to the things we're saying here. So we'll wait and see what the YouTube comment section says in the morning. God forbid. We all love Unai Emery, of course. There's not one Villa fan out there that will be thinking we need to make a change or anything silly like that, of course, and neither do we think that. But because we kind of hold him in such high regard and we think he's built the statue and all these things that we say about him and the job he's done, to me, is a miracle from where we were to where we are now. That doesn't make him immune to criticism, though. I think he got it wrong tonight. I thought the starting 11 was wrong. I thought Bailey should have started. He said since that he had a problem with his back against Chelsea, which is why he came on in the 90th minute in that game. And then he was more involved for this one. We did wonder whether it was going to be a fitness thing for him as why he was not in the team. But Moussa Diaby's not really done a fat lot for a long time now. Jacob Ramsey comes off the bench. I think he did a great deal. Likewise, Zaniolo is fumbling around a little bit. Bailey was the one player really you can hang your hat on and go, he's done something there. He's made a difference. We massively miss Pau Torres. I don't think that can be understated. I don't know. As much as I absolutely love Unai Emery, I think he can do no wrong. I also don't want to not put any blame on him because I think that was one of our worst performances under him at Villa Park, at least. Anyway, I think that's pretty easy to say because we've been so good at home since he's been here. But yeah, I don't want it to come across that like, oh well, trust in Unai, he knows what he's doing. Sometimes I think you can point out that I'm not quite sure we got it right tonight.
Yeah, I mean the Bailey Diaby one is obvious because Bailey had achieved more in 5 minutes of stepping off the bench than Diaby did probably for most of his however long he was on, an hour or whatever, however long he was on the pitch. I think the thing with I think it's a kind of double problem at the moment because yes, Emery. Listen, he's human, isn't he? He's gonna make mistakes, but also he's got less bandwidth to experiment in than because the size of the squad. It doesn't give him that many options, to be honest. And I might have got this wrong, but did I read somewhere him saying that if Watkins, I don't know, it's about the Duran situation with Duran being injured, but Zaniolo could be his centre forward. Did I read quotes from him saying that? That fills me with horror, and I don't want to turn Zaniolo into the latest scapegoat because we've lost. But I don't think he's an Aston Villa top 4 player. I don't think he is, and whether that's because his loan was a bit of a slow burner, and he's not kind of got that regular enough confidence boost, whether in terms of numbers, in terms of goals and assists. But that's what he's having to go with at the moment. He's having to bring on an unfit Jacob Ramsey. And those were the three. Listen, I suppose when you're 3-0 down, it's last roll of the dice anyway. But those were the three changes that he could really make to influence that game in an attacking sense. He's got Zaniolo, who, whether it's confidence, whether it's he hasn't had the game time, or whether he just isn't of the required quality, that's one substitution. You've got Leon Bailey, who must be carrying a knock because Emery's no more.
Otherwise, yeah.
He starts, and then you've got Jacob Ramsey, who's feeling his way back into form and fitness. So, he's having to make these decisions based on that. I tell you one of the things that frustrated me. I thought the first 5 minutes of the second half were really poor, really, really poor. When you expect Villa to come out and take the game, cliche, but kicking towards the halt, it's 2-0. The next goal is going to be crucial in terms of, we saw that when we made it back to 3-1. There was a chance where we could have pushed and pushed. Yeah. I just felt we conceded territory too easily. I think we gave a silly corner away. And you're just thinking, what you're doing here, you're making it too easy for the opposition rather than us forcing them back and imposing our game on them. We're being a little bit meek and a little bit passive. I think that was the main difference between the last time we played them at Villa Park versus tonight. I thought their midfield was higher intensity than ours, and I think that gave them the foothold in the game, and then there was no way back for us.
Yeah, the only other change I could think of, and this is almost change for change's sake almost, is obviously we've seen Conte right back and Cash not in the team, Diego Carlos at centre-half instead of him. I did wonder, and this is only a thought I had during the game when we were already losing against a physical side, is Diego Carlos not a better suited defender in this game, more so than Clement Longley? Longley made a great goal-saving challenge or interception or whatever the word is at one stage, and I thought he played okay. And I know why he's in the team. He's there to be Pau Torres light, isn't he? He's the free trial, isn't he? If Pau Torres is Photoshop, Clement Longley is the free trial you get for a couple of weeks. It'll do a job, but it doesn't have all the full features that the full thing has. So I get that he's in there to start and trying to build attacks, and he's okay. He's a decent enough player. This isn't an anti-Clement Longley thing. I just thought during the game, maybe having that extra physical Diego Carlos in those set-piece situations rather than a Longley, maybe he was a different option that could have been utilised in there, and then maybe Conte plays right back and Longley can still play. Cash is the fall guy. Who knows? It's if, buts and maybes, and who am I to say anything over Unai Emery, that the manager that's been the most successful in my lifetime so far. But yeah, just a different thought of maybe we can try different things. But like you said, the room isn't there in terms of personnel to make too many experimental changes. Time is not there either, right? Like Villa need to pick up points all the time. Like the Premier League is relentless, so we can't have a period where we go, oh, let's try something for 3 or 4 weeks and see if that works, because we lose a couple of games and Spurs win them, and all of a sudden that gap that we've built over the sides in 6th place is not there anymore, and we're under severe pressure of kind of blowing this good start we've had. So overall, I'm still positive about the season. I'm still kind of backing Villa to finish in the top 5, whether that's Champions League or not. It will be, we'll have to wait and see. As we said, there's 16 games to go. This is not the end of the world not to have won tonight. I'm obviously upset about coming away from Villa Park and not having won or drawn the game, because that's what we're so used to. But you beat Sheffield United at the weekend. You have a good go against Man United the following week. You've got Luton, I think Crystal Palace, was it? Let me just double check. The next 5 fixtures I thought were favourable to Villa. I know we've seen that Villa don't tend to do well against the lower sides, but Sheffield United, Man United, Fulham, Forest and Luton are our next 5 before we play Spurs at Villa Park. So, looking at that next 5, thinking, well, if you can win 3, win 4 possibly, you're still going to be right up there, and then you've got a huge game against Spurs to really kind of put yourself a bit of breathing room in there. So by no means the end of the world, the end of the season, doom and gloom, anything like that, but just a few kind of niggling doubts that the last couple of weeks haven't really been good enough for the standard that we've come to expect under Emery. But I trust in him and the players to sort that out over time. Pau Torres coming back would be a big help at some point during those next 5 games.
Yeah, I just a couple of things I wanted to mention. My highlight of the match, which was Leon Bailey, when he did a turn, dropped his shoulder and sent Dan Burn to the ball ring. It was just brilliant. It was I'm clutching a little bit, but it was a brilliant moment. And I'm not blaming him for the result, but I thought the referee was appalling. And I thought the lino on the far side as well. I was obviously in the Trinity. Thought he was appalling as well.
When they flagged an offside for Moreno, I think it was, before the move was allowed to develop, which they don't do anymore. Yeah. And in the second half, Newcastle allowed a move to develop and then flagged it for offside. Like inconsistency in the same game, never mind week to week. That kind of thing bores my pit.
I did like it when John McGinn sent Anthony Gordon into the stands as well with a
that was just after that was in the second half, wasn't it? And it was like, oh, okay, like a small moment like that can really kind of like turn things a little bit. And again, we didn't really capitalise on that kind of we're all in this together kind of. Villa Park finally roared into life, and we couldn't quite make anything count off the back of that either. But you're right, the referee again. I wasn't really going to bring it up in we've lost. I'm sick of the referee and VAR this, VAR that. It wasn't that, but a terrible referee. Like gave nothing to Villa, really, it felt like, apart from yellow cards, for things that you probably could have just given as a foul and moved on. So many 50-50s went against Villa, just had no control of the game whatsoever. But you could copy and paste that little segment of the podcast into most weeks, to be honest. I feel like that about most of the referees in this division.
Yeah, it's the old cliche, isn't it? That the best referees are ones that you don't really notice because they just let the game flow. Anything that's completely oversteps the mark, they deal with it and they nip it in the bud. And it was just one of those ones where you just think, really, if you really needed to get involved there, could you not just let the game be played? I don't think it was a particularly dirty game, was it? You know what I mean? It was competitive, but I don't think it was dirty. I said I'll give a shout out to. I've got to find his name. Hang on a minute. It's a lad. He came over. He lives in Australia, and he came over about. It's how old I am. Came over about 15 years ago, I think, and I met him at a game with his dad. And he's now since returned. He's some kind of high flying lawyer now. He's on secondment in London. So let me find his name because he's a relative of Chris here we work with, Luis Evangelou. So big shout out to Luis. I think he's down in London at the moment. But he's only over here for a short while, so he's trying to get his fix of Villa while he can. So hope it hasn't left you too miserable tonight, Luis.
His fault then. We've been good since he came back.
We're going to blame Luis.
Yeah,
or we're going to give him credit.
Oh, that or the referee. We're really doing this in reverse, and we will go in a second. What do you think of the light show? Did you enjoy that, the mobile light show?
I'm an old man, Dan, aren't I? It's a bit roller disco for me. Do you know I probably, because I'm somebody who kind of makes sure I like paper tickets and stuff like that, and I don't like things that are app based. And I think if you're giving me an extra chore, just entertain me. Don't let me have to press a button on my phone to be part of it. But I don't mind it. Listen, you'll get me on familiar territory again today because the last thing I needed at 2-0 down was that stupid halftime game, which I was saying to my nephew, it's like a supply teacher. You've got a supply teacher for PE at school, and they don't know where the normal equipment is, so they just got a key to a random store cupboard and just throw it together. And then I think they asked the fella, didn't they? They asked the fella to pronounce the name of the new signing. What would you have got that one right? Costa something.
I'd have given it a go because we spoke about him a few weeks ago. I think it's Costa Ndjelkovic. I think John told me I did okay when I'd said that, but what does John know? I could do with a Serbian international telling me whether that's any good or not. I think it's Ndjelkovic.
Oh right. Well, you might have won yourself 50 pride points or whatever.
Oh, that's what we all after, isn't it? 50 pride points. I mean, what the hell do they even do? What happened to while we're here talking about halftime games, entertainment and whatnot? Whatever the game is kind of irrelevant. Why are we not winning up proper prizes like the good old days? Like winning a shirt or a season ticket or 50 quid in the club shop? What's anyone doing with 100 prize?
We're even a match ticket for Newcastle. Even a 63 quid match ticket,
£63 voucher, to specifically send on a match ticket for a Category B game. Yeah, the prizes are enough on these things.
I think you have to give smaller prizes to keep in line with all the.
Oh, you've gone. Oh, you're on your laptop webcam now.
Oh.
We didn't do this live because of this reason here. Matt's computer's gone absolutely AWOL. We've lost audio. He's switching webcams. What the hell is going on? I'm going to call it a day there, Matt, while you're on the computer. We were just talking about not being able to use apps and pressing a button. Evidence here is proven. But if you enjoy this podcast or listening, if you enjoyed this... If you enjoyed listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, then please scroll down, get involved, click a few buttons, like Mat Kendrick, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, get involved in the comment section and leave us a review on the audio platform of your choice. Cheers for watching this one. Cheers, Matt, for your time. We'll see you very soon.